All right, Aquarius, beautiful. It's a beautiful pull. The only thing that I feel like here is that you need to be careful about what you're releasing to, but I feel more so that it's going to have to do with you needing to give up control in order to experience joy. So one of my favorites, one I don't get to see a lot, ecstasy from Lay Vampire, yielding, rapture, and bliss, and then joy from Chakra Wisdom. Ecstasy is talking about surrendering to a higher source, a higher power, or a person, but needing to be careful on what you choose to surrender to. But the thing is if you're looking to experience ecstasy, it's needing to surrender control here and take a leap. Because joy, like I've always said, is like the Fool. This is the moment after the leap. You may not see where you are going, but you will land on your feet, right? And you get to be that conduit for joy. All right, Aquarius, here's your overall for the week. Ugh. Why? You know? Now, with the Eight of Swords being the overall, feeling like you're stuck, right? Being trapped mentally in a way of thinking about something, or just feeling like you're stuck, right? But you do this to yourself, though, with the Eight of Swords, right? The only way that you're going to change that is by moving. But right now, it's like nothing can really move forward for you because of this coming through, right? Now, in the past, the Seven of Pentacles, so looking at things, the Seven of Pentacles is difficult for me just because I look at it and think, yeah, that's great, but, I think that I can have better, or I think that I can have more. How do I continue that growth, right? It is taking stock of everything that you have and what you've worked for, reevaluating things, but I always question on whether or not this person is happy with what they're actually saying. And then I think back to that Six of Pentacles. I don't know why, but I feel like that was significant for some of you. All right? You're only ever going to get out of something what you put into it. Ooh, boy, in the present, the Ace of Cups. Now, what I don't like about this is that if you have an opportunity here for some happiness, for the cup to runneth over, right? With the Eight of Swords, you just don't see how that's possible. I think that you spend a lot of time thinking about this, though, between the 7 and the 8, right? The 7 of Pentacles and 8 of Swords. How is it possible, right? How can I make this what I want it to be, But with the Eight of Swords, it's just like you can't see it right now. You can't see how that's possible. And there you are, future conditions, the Star. I haven't seen this one this week. Have I? No, I don't think I have. The Star. And there you are, right? And it could be that you're just keeping yourself, with a certain way of thinking right now, because you may be looking at that Ace of Cups going, there's better, right? Like, I know there's better, Now, absolutely, we could be looking at you coming out of a situation where you may have felt like you were trapped here, with the Star having hope restored into, a new beginning for you where you feel good, whether we're talking about, with the Ace of Cups, a relationship, reconnection to spirit, what makes you feel good, right? And stop thinking so damn much, But I do like the Star coming out on this. Oof, your best path to follow, the Five of Pentacles. Now, I look at that with the Eight of Swords, and I think maybe some of you feel like, it's going to cost you too much to get involved almost, because I do feel kind of like financial difficulty. Like if you were to move on from the situation that you're at right now, but I look at the Star and the Ace of Cups and think you might be happier doing things, in a way that might be difficult to begin with. But I look at the Five of Pentacles as advice, and I think, you can always get yourself out of these situations, right? It's hard times, yeah, but it's only the 5, right? Things have to change. Unfortunately, the 5s are all the shitty shit, But then not only that, but, if you feel like you're being rejected or cast out in a situation, right? You're not stuck in it. You may feel like you are, but, that may be a motivator here to push you to go after that Ace of Cups, because I still feel good about this. I just don't like this. In your environment, the world, damn. So, You know, with the world being there, to me, it's just you need to take those next steps. I mean, really, that's what that is. You're going to have to take the next steps. They may be extremely difficult, but, you know, it's not permanent, right? You need to take those next steps to complete something out, you know, and do it in a way where you feel good and you open yourself up to, if I could fucking talk right this week, a new opportunity that makes you feel better. You know, because you're still wanting continued growth here with the Seven of Pentacles coming through, right? But maybe you just need to do it in a different way where you feel better about what you're doing rather than continuing to keep yourself trapped in a way of doing things or a way of thinking, you know. And like I said, it's like it might be a little bit of a blow with that Five of Pentacles being there. You know, but if you're already experiencing this, then fuck it, right? Just do what you got to do. Take those next steps. Complete that chapter out, you know. Get over to that Ace of Cups. Because once you do that, you go right into the Star. I really do think that this is about, you know, and it doesn't matter to me whether we're talking about work, love, whatever it is. To me, this is really about you needing to do things that may be a little bit difficult, but ultimately are going to make you feel better in the end. You know, because there's the world sitting there in your environment. It's just that you need to make that happen. I don't think it's about closure or anything. The sun, your hopes and fears, right? And it is about you, and it's about you feeling better about you. And then I look at joy, and I think, you know, you need to have more joy in your life, a little bit more ecstasy. Maybe you're going to have to change some things here. It may be a little bit difficult, but, you know, don't keep yourself trapped with the idea that, you know, you have to continue doing things this way because you're only at the 7, you know. I feel like there's better potential if you change the way that you're thinking about things or the way that you're doing things, right? Because you're going to have to take the next steps here to open up to a new beginning after closing something out or ending a chapter in your life, right? But with the sun being hopes and fears, it's about your sense of self, your sense of direction, feeling better about who you are, seeing things for what they are, right? And you've got all this illumination happening, but here you are, you know? Oh my God, and then coming, Seven of Swords, what? Why? I feel like that's about you not talking about what you're thinking about, not talking about what plans you have, not really wanting to discuss it yet because I don't think that, you know, you're ready yet to take the next steps here towards something better for you, something that's going to make you feel better. And then the Eight of Pentacles, I'm telling you, for some of you, it is going to have to do with work. Now, with the Six of Cups and looking at the Seven of Swords, you know, and the Eight of Swords being the overall here, it is being stuck with the past, being stuck with a way that, you know, you've been doing things in the past. It's like routine. You have to keep doing it this way. And it makes sense, right? Aquarius being fixed, you know, but I'd like to think that you guys are a little bit more open-minded, you know, versus Scorpio or Taurus here. But it's something about the past, you know, that you've reevaluated it over and over and over again. The opportunity is still there, but, you know, you're not really acting on that. You may be wanting to. I don't think that you're looking to get away with anything. And I don't think that this is about anybody doing anything to you, you know, but stuck with the past, you know, past way of doing things. And then looking at the Nine of Wands, if you're looking at the Ace of Cups in the world, the thing is, you know, it's like you're preparing, right? Like definitely it could be that you're preparing here for the difficulty that's ahead of you once you close something out here and start something new. Whatever that is here, whether it's work or relationship. But I also feel like with the Nine of Wands, if you're talking about, you know, protecting yourself, it's protecting yourself in your interests, right? And you've already seen the potential growth in the past. You know, I don't feel like some of you are wanting to lose that. Now with the Eight of Pentacles, right? I mean, it's basically you needing to bust your ass here, put in some effort. If you really want something that is going to be better than what you were dealing with, you know, it's going to take work. I don't think it's about time because we're not looking at the Knight of Pentacles, but, you know, I look at that Eight of Pentacles and I think you have some expertise here. You know what you're doing. You need to continue doing it, right? But There's no reason to stay stuck in a routine. But then I also feel like, you know, with that Seven of Swords, maybe there's a reason why you're not talking about what you're doing, you know, or not talking about the other opportunities that may be around you right now. And it may be because, you know, you have to take those next steps to complete something before you can actually, you know, follow through on this. You know, because I see this and I think, you know, he's thinking about it. He's thinking about doing it, right? But something about the way things were done in the past has got you stuck in a way of thinking, you know? But that Ace of Cups is right there. And I look at the star and think, it's going to make you feel whole, make you feel complete, but you're keeping yourself here right now. And like I said, it may be because you might take a blow financially. It may be that, you know, you're not wanting to deal with any kind of strain or difficulties, right? You may be fearing rejection, but, you know, I look at that and I feel like this is only temporary, you know? And then I go back to the Oracle cards and think, just give it up. Stop trying to control things. Just, you know, do what you need to do to make yourself happy, you know? And it's funny because I keep going back to something that, you know, I had heard in a video that I watched. He was talking about the one thing that people said the most on their deathbed, and it was regretting not having done something. Very nice. Very, very nice. Here's the thing. When you're looking at the Three of Cups and the Nine of Swords in this deck, it is talking about coming back together after a breakup. Obviously, the Nine of Swords is going to be more difficult to hear than the Three of Cups. The Three of Cups is good. This is relieving heartbreak, right? And I mean, look at you, happy, you know, connecting. Things are good, right? You need to just trust that things are going to work out with your relationship, even if you went through a breakup or, you know, there were difficulties, whatever. There's going to be the mending of a broken heart. Absolutely. You know, I like the Three of Cups. Now, for those of you who are single, needing to stay optimistic, that may be because somebody is going to be, you know, doing the sneak attack. That's what I call this one. It's like somebody comes out of nowhere and wants to take control of a relationship that really isn't going anywhere, right? And all of a sudden, boom, they're there like, yeah, I'm here. This is how I feel, right? The sneak attack. You know, and it could be you, right? In order to pick up momentum and take control of a relationship, right? Maybe you need to reach out here, right? Take control. But stay optimistic because it looks like things are going to go in the right direction, right? The relationships look great. I think what you're dealing with is work situation. You know, you might have to leave one job and go to another. And maybe you're not wanting to discuss that, and that's fine, but you're still really not, you know, moving forward. I'm hoping that Eight of Swords is in reverse. But, you know, with the sun being there, I feel like, especially with the star and that Ace of Cups, this is something that you need to do. You're going to have to take those next steps. Like I keep getting that over and over again. You're going to have to make that happen. You're going to have to close out the situation. Even if you have to do it on the down low, so be it, because you need to be happy, right? You need to have happiness in your life. You need to experience some joy.